people maybe like your analogy of having someone in your backyard. Some people like that.
Oh,
We don't.
We're very private people. Believe it or not,
Which is so weird.
for how social she is on the internet, we are extremely private people.
Yeah.
Extremely.
Yeah.
Like we take our kids to swimming lessons and skating and that kind of stuff. So we're starting to get into the community for that kind of stuff for the kids. I hate it.
Yeah, I don't like it.
I hate it.
I hate it a lot.
I find that so strange because you and I are both very athletic.
Social media influencers?
No, we were both athletic growing up.
Yeah.
I know my childhood was very sports driven. Mm-hmm. Every winter, like we're here in Southwestern Ontario, my winters, as far as back as I can remember, all through my childhood, spent traveling around the province for hockey. The summers were replaced with baseball, traveling all over. And then the older I got, baseball went on the back burner, and then it became track and field or football. And I spent everywhere traveling around for that in the summer times, right? And then hockey in the winters. So it's just nonstop. And as a parent, and looking back on it, I'm so grateful that my parents gave me those opportunities. And at the same time, and I don't want to knock it because I think I had a great childhood. We learned a lot playing sports. I'm sure you did too. But I don't want to knock it. But now that I have children of my own, I really struggle. And I think you feel the same way. I don't know if I want the same for my kids. Like everyone's convinced, oh, they got to play hockey. They got to play hockey. They got to get ready for baseball. You know, they're 4 years old, 5 years old, whatever. Let's get them going. I have days where I'm like, yep, that's how I grew up. I want to do that because I want them to be good at it and this and that. And then I have other days where I'm like, I don't give a shit. If they like it, they can.
Right.
I'll give them those opportunities to take them there and they can do it. But you know what? Sports teaches valuable lessons and that kind of stuff growing up. And I think there's a lot of positives from it. But
don't you think that...
I think parents today need to cool it. Like, I don't want to offend anyone, but like, what are we doing? I think it's more important rather than traveling all over the goddamn province for all these sports all the time. Like I know people, like people that are close, even family members, that spend every weekend and the majority of their weekdays after work traveling to practices, traveling to hockey games out of town, all over the goddamn place. Is that fun? Like at the end of the day,
is anyone really enjoying that?
Is anyone,
do you like it that much?
Like, is your kid going to the goddamn NHL?
Okay. Yes, this was literally on my list, actually.
Like, come on. And this is, like, there's someone in my family who went to the NHL, and I'm saying that.
Yeah.
No, you're not going to the fucking NHL. It's a 1 in a million chance now. There's some really good local people that have gone up and played in the NHL around here. And I have an uncle is in that group. But you know what? Coming from a hockey family and growing up, give your fucking head a shake as a parent.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Why are you pushing your kids so hard for that?
And that's like more the parent, I think.
That's 100% the parent. The parent is the one that drives you to all this stuff.
Yeah.
I understand it's fun, but do you need to do travel hockey? Do you need to do AAA? You're going to get, if you're good, let me put it this way. There are parents that spend thousands and thousands of dollars to put their kids in AAA hockey or these elite teams for baseball or whatever it might be. They pay tons so that they can get the extra exposure. I'm going to break it to you right now. If you're fucking good enough and if your kid is good enough, they'll get the exposure. They'll get noticed no matter what.
Yeah. Especially nowadays with social media, I feel like.
Yeah.
Easy.
You're going to get exposed. All right. And people will talk, people notice. My God, it's 2024. Everything's on the internet.
Yeah.
You do not need to pay millions.
Oh my God, easy. Just get a viral video and you get a fucking ticket to the show.
Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
So I feel like, again, prefacing with the fact of,
that's
like,
my rant.
Parents, I believe in you. You said like you did hockey, blah, 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 and you're like, you had like that opportunity and they meant well and whatever. But I feel like there's a portion to it that like the parents are maybe a little projecting to be like, we want you to succeed. Maybe hang on, that projecting is not the right word right now, but like you want your kid to succeed. You want them to have every advantage in the world as possible, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think the problem there is, I mean, me and probably you wired the same way, is our brains, I think, were wired, and that's probably why we were athletes and that we did do sports and stuff, because our brains were wired that like to be like you had to be good at something, and that once you were good at something, you got that like praise or like validation. So you're like, oh, I can't
very
stop.
Rewarding. Yes,
Yeah.
I get that.
So then like at what point I feel like the line gets crossed where like you're no longer doing it because you like doing it, but you're like, I have to, because there's like the people pleasing part where you're like, oh, well, if I don't, then parents, everyone, they're going to think I'm not good. I'm not good or something because you're not doing.
Or you're playing you end up playing a sport or sports longer than you probably should have, because you live in fear of letting those other people down, letting your parents down or whatever, because you're under this misconception that, you continuing to play travel hockey or you continuing to play baseball or something is what they want. And if you quit on that, and I'm a big advocate in saying, if you start something, you finish it. Do not quit. And I'm going to treat our kids the same way. They're not allowed to quit. If they sign up and they start something, they need to finish it. But then they can reevaluate it after it's
I think
over.
there's nuance to that. It depends on the circumstance.
Okay. But I'm just saying there's a lot of value to that.
I think quitting is an okay thing. I think that needs to be normalized. You can
I hate
quit.
that attitude. But okay, that's something we can.
That's something you need to work on, I think. I think that's internalized. That's the exact internalization of what we're talking about now.
There's a time and place for that.
Sure.
But anyway, now I lost my train of thought because you
quitting.
went on a little thing about it.
Oh.
But anyway, I'm just saying that kids won't admit it. I never admitted it when I played sports, but I was always I personally was always terrified of letting parents. I was terrified of the perception my friends would have if I quit. When I think of quitting, I think of my time playing baseball. I did not enjoy baseball, and I played travel baseball.
Does anybody enjoy baseball?
I found it boring. Again,
Soccer.
I was decent enough to play travel ball, so I traveled around quite a bit in the summer times. This is all kind of pre-high school, maybe early high school. And then I remember just feeling extreme guilt when I decided I didn't want to play anymore and having to tell my parents that. And my parents were supportive, of course, and they were great. And you know what? Ultimately, I found at the time, shortly thereafter, I found track and field, and that was my calling. So I went that way, and I replaced baseball with a different sport because that was life. For me, it was sports. So I replaced it, and I'm glad I did. But the overwhelming pressure or guilt I had as a kid to admit that I didn't want to play a sport for fear of letting someone down, or even worse, how my friends would perceive me. And like, picture yourself in high school and going into school and everyone's talking about the game and what they did on the weekend, and
because that's all that matters.
It's all a big what do I want to call it? Like a I don't want to say cult, but a group of, this is what we all have
That's
in
just
common.
the culture in school. That's
Right.
the only. It's like you live for Friday nights in the hockey game, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, and then for me, it was like, and I enjoyed hockey, and I eventually ended up giving that up halfway through high school. But because I found a sport that was like a track. Well, I did track and field, but track and field was a very individual type sport, and I got more reward out of that because it was for me and not a team. I wasn't feeling like I was letting people down. There was less pressure. Again, it doesn't matter what sport you play, but the point I'm trying to make is how so many parents get caught up in, not making their kids, but pushing them to do certain things, when what's the point? Like, I would much rather spend a day or a weekend at home with my kids around the farm, doing stuff as a family together. I think those memories and those lessons they're going to learn. The last few weekends of you in your splitting wood.
I don't like the air quotes. I don't love the air quotes.
You with your splitting wood.
And it's not a phase.
Okay, it's not a phase. So with you with your splitting wood right now, the lessons and the enjoyment I see our children getting out of that, like, they literally sit on stumps out here and watch you split wood and they cheer you on.
Yeah, they do.
And I can see their little minds working, and it's amazing. They're seeing what a strong, independent woman can do. And even though it's typically a man's job to split wood, if history tells us anything. Okay.
It's safe.
Okay. They're seeing that. They're seeing that you're breaking stereotypes. You're doing all that.
Well, they're not seeing that I'm breaking a stereotype.
They don't
They're
know.
not seeing the stereotype being
know.
formed. They're being
Right.
raised in an environment where there is not a stereotype.
And
To
for
break.
our oldest, who's a girl, she's seeing mom do hard things and doing things,
Doing things like better than dad. Yeah.
Anyway.
And our boy.
And our
He was
boy
like-
seeing that mom can do hard things too.
He goes, Mom, you're strong.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Anyway,
Wait, before we get into that, I wanted to circle back. I've been trying to get a fucking word in, edgewise.
No, hang on.
Oh,
I have
boy,
a
this is the
thought.
Andy show.
Oh, I had a thought and you just
Yeah, that sounds like me. I want to go back to the fact that you were saying how, like, you felt pressured, like, to not quit, to not give up. You feel like you're going to let whatever down. So you kept going. So let's not do that to our kids, right? Like, that's kind of like the realization, like,
Wow. I don't.
not in a bad way. I'm not demonizing, like, our parents do the best they can at the time.
I think it's important to give the message that if you start something, you finish it. But at the same time, don't quit something because it's hard. Quit something. And if you want to quit something, you have to have reasons and you need to think about, why. And if my kids come to me with good reasons of why they don't want to do something, I will 100% support them and love them no matter what. But they need to understand when you set out to do something, it's your word and you sign the contract. I'm going to do this. Okay, you do it. You finish it. That's all. I believe that.
I understand. I think really what it boils down to is, like, I think ultimately that's work ethic. Work ethic is important, but I do think that it's very circumstantial. And I think that when you telling them that message of, like, you start it, you finish it, that's just as toxic as literally what we're just talking about. Like, that's literally putting the pressure on them to be like, well, I am. No, it is.
I'm talking about, I think of in terms of sports, the pressure of you reevaluate after every season and decide, are you still enjoying this or are you not enjoying this? If you're enjoying this, let's sign up again for next year. If you're not enjoying it, okay, we can.
Yeah, but
I don't
that's
want
my
to even use the
point.
word quit. We're not going to quit. We just won't do it again.
Yeah, but you're saying, like, that has to be at the end of the season. Like,
I'm saying is the way I grew up and the way many people grow up and parents continue to raise their kids and teach them is that when hockey registration comes around, for example, there's no questions. Do you want to do hockey? I don't even know if those questions are getting asked.
they're just signing them up.
They're just
'cause everyone
signing
else
up.
is doing it.
They're just
Everyone's
signing
trying
them
to
up
go
for
to the
baseball. They're just
show.
signing up for soccer.
Yeah.
Because go.
Because that's what you do.
Everyone does.
Their kid does that, and he's a year younger. Whoa, he's already skating.
I'm just going to say that is not normal. It's not normal.
No, it's not. I don't think it is.
It's not a normal thing.
It is. It's normal, but then you end up like you and me with this internalized, like, trauma from fucking sports.
I don't have trauma from
No,
sports.
you do, honey. You
I
have.
don't.
You just told me you did. You have trauma. You have trauma.
What trauma?
You have trauma because you felt like you had to. You couldn't quit. You felt pressure.
For certain things, sure.
Yes. So that's still trauma, mild or not. It's
But
still
without sports, I wouldn't have some of the greatest joys I've had in my life.
sure. But my point is that is still the trauma. We are trying to avoid doing that to our kids.
Sometimes it's good for them too.
Oh God, you keep flip flopping.
Yeah,
I feel like you're making it, and then you come back into
I
like
know, but it's
1965,
important for them to have situations where
out of their comfort zone. But
yes.
they also need to know they need to know that they can come to me or you, not at the end of the season, but after the fucking second game, being like, this doesn't feel right, blah blah blah. They don't have to wait and go through and put themselves over and over in that uncomfortable situation or whatever for whatever reason just because they don't feel like they can come to you because you made it very clear.
they can come
No,
to us.
because you told them, that's what I'm going to tell. I can replay it. You said it. You're like, I'm going to tell my kids, you don't quit. Like, that's exactly, I'm just trying to be gentle.
There's
calling you in right now.
exceptions to the word quitting. I'll say that.
I get it. I think your intention with that is like work ethic.
Yes.
But I don't want that. Not going to let you say that to the kids in those
But you
words.
need to understand that there's a time and a place for it.
I do understand. We're the same. We're built the same. We have the same work ethic. I get it. But I also know
But I
our
actually,
children are too young
What
for
we're
that.
describing about sports and quitting and not quitting, but at the same time, pushing through things and finishing what you started and that kind of mentality. I actually think they're going to learn more of that on the farm than they are going to in the sports.
So, I don't know. I mean, a healthy dose of that is good. Like the adversity.
Like when one of them comes out to cut wood, we don't come back in until that back end of that trailer
Yeah.
is loaded.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just the mentality. We go out to do chores. We don't come in until the chores are done. You know what I mean? That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I think it's just
It's teaching them lessons.
Yeah. No, I think it doesn't matter what you do. There are lessons. There are lessons to be taught and learned in all situations, but it's the fact that society and locally for us specifically, because our town, I guess, I don't know if that's like all of Canada, but like I feel like our area is very heavy. Like we're going to the NHL. Like they're obsessed. Is that like, I think so. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe that's just like all over Canada. That's just the Canadian thing. But parents are so obsessed with that because in their mind, they're projecting because when they were raised, they were like, yes, doing sports makes you good at something. And that makes you matter. So my kid's going to be good at sports. And
I'm not knocking anyone that has their kids in hockey because my God, our kids would probably play hockey.
Yeah.
I would put money on at least one of them plays hockey. But in saying that, and even if they don't, I don't care. But in saying that, I'm not knocking any parents like that. I'm just saying that arena is packed in town here. It's packed all the time with practices on the weekends, for games, all of it. It's always packed. Everyone has their kids in sports for hockey, especially in this town. And I honestly struggle to understand. I grew up in it. Okay. I grew up in the whole hockey scene. I struggle now as a parent to understand whether parents are just putting their kids in hockey.
do the kids want to be there or is it for the parents?
Because they want to, it's important that they do that, or like, what is their reasoning for doing it? Like, are they doing it because their kids asked them to play hockey, or are they doing it because they're worried that they're going to be excluded or an outcast from their friends or their peers because everyone else in school at their kids' age is doing hockey? Like, and if that's the case, you're doing it for the wrong fucking reasons. Like, who cares? There's a sense of belonging no matter where you are. You can find a sense of belonging. So, and if it's not in sports, it can be in something else. But like that, they're putting too much pressure. And I'm not saying all the parents are like this. I would say maybe the vast majority of people that are at our local arena with their kids
that genuinely
want to play hockey. So many kids are so excited to play hockey. I was one of them. It's everything. It's all your buddies and your friends. Everyone's there. And it makes you so proud to score a goal and your family's there watching it. I get it. That's awesome. But if your kid's not enjoying it, don't push it.
No, I just think that does so much more harm.
And I have seen it too, where there's been kids that go through the hockey system and they hate it for the first couple of years, but their friends are doing it, so they keep doing it. And then all of a sudden something switches and they love it, right? And I've also seen it the other way. They love it, and then all of a sudden they don't love it, but they continue to do it because of their friends. And as a parent, you got to try and do a good job of seeing those signs and give them an option maybe at that time. Say, hey, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do this. It's important to recognize that and not push your kids one way or the other.
But I just I'm so confused by you. I think you're like the inside of you is trying so hard to come out and say what you're saying. But then the other like toxic, traumatized Andy's like, no, you can't quit. Because you literally just said, I want you have to let the parents be able to say, or the kids say to the parents, they're like, oh, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to do it. And then you're like, but you can't fucking quit. So I'm just gently calling you in right now because you're
Depends when
doing
the
a great
quitting
job.
takes place.
I know.
It depends.
I know.
You can't do it in the middle of a season.
I mean, you can though. I think you can. You can. I think that's the point. I'm not a fucking quitter either. We're the same. We are so fucking competitive. But if it's causing them undue stress for whatever reason, they have the freedom. They are not forced.
Depends on how bad that stress is. But yes,
I'm never going to be that parent.
As a parent, though, you need. Again, we're just talking out of our ass because our kids are still little.
We don't know anything. We've never done.
But you hope that you have a relationship with your kids in a sense that if something's bothering them or they're stressed or they don't like something or whatever, and that they can trust you or feel comfortable enough with you as their parent to come to you and talk about those things. And hopefully 9 times out of 10, you can talk them through it and they can continue doing it or at least continue it for a little bit longer or whatever it may be to get them through and then reevaluate again or whatever it may be, however you want to handle it. But building that trust with your children so that they can feel comfortable to talk about it, I think is the main thing I'm trying to point out.
Yes. And I'm just trying to gently tell you that I want that for you with your kids. So that means you cannot be telling them, you have to quit, you can't quit, blah, 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 because that is the first thing. They will not, just like you literally have proven, you just admitted that's you. You, for years, whatever, couldn't even admit that you didn't want to do it because you felt like you couldn't.
Yes, but I'm saying I struggled as a kid to, I don't know how to word it, I struggled to I see the pros in both, is what I'm trying to say. I see the pros in saying you start something and you finish it. There's a lot of pros to that. But I see the flip side and there's a lot of cons to it as well. It can be toxic and whatever, and then it builds this guilt and everything else down the road, and then you end up doing stuff for a long time that you don't like or whatever it might be, right? And maybe it puts a negative strain on your relationship with your parents down the road. Who knows, right? But so I see both sides of it, and as a parent, and I think I would put money on it. Most parents struggle with that too, but on what's the best way to go. But
yeah,
again, I don't know. Maybe the best solution is you
live off grid.
Yeah, that's my dream. Is you hope that you can have a relationship with your children where they always feel comfortable that they can talk.
You just keep ultimately open conversation so that you have to make it so that make sure that they can come to you for anything, and then you evaluate as you go. We can talk it through. We're going to quit. No, we're not. Blah, blah, blah.
Unlike our daughter right now, it's all about secrets. So she's going through a phase where she's, I got a secret. I can't tell you this.
And it's usually this, I love you.
Yeah. And it's something so, small.
Yeah.
And actually has, whatever, no consequences or whatever. But, you worry if.
Oh, I've already talked to her. She doesn't keep secrets from me.
Yeah. And there's no secrets in our house. So.
No secrets from me. Not from mommy and daddy. But yeah, I think like going back to the parents putting pressure on it, we're kind of I think we're heated with this because we're having our first kind of year. Our kids are old enough that we have them in stuff, and we've like tried skating. Someone's here.
Yeah. Just a van going
shredding
70 kilometers an hour around our horseshoe driveway.
More of a point of why we wanted to close our farm store, because that's what customers would do sometimes too. Okay, going back to explaining that we have young kids and like we just started skating this year for the first time, blah, 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 blah. So this is all very new to us, which is why we're like so heated and confused and whatever. So I do think though, since even just the beginning of this season, I feel like your mentality has shifted for the better away from the can't quit thing, because like.
Well, it's different because they're at the age where they're not playing a sport. They're learning skills.
Yeah, and they also...
So like the skating is a program for learning how to skate. And the swimming is, self-explanatory. It's swimming lessons.
Yeah.
So, but they're both at the age where they would much rather just do it with us.
Yeah.
So if it means saving some money, I'm all for it. Let's just go to open skates together as a family. Let's just go to open swims as a family.
And saving the trauma. Like right now is about making it fun. If they're going and they're like crying and they don't want to go, as a parent, and you're like, oh, you're going to keep going because we signed up. Then they fucking hate it. Then they're miserable.
Yeah.
Then they don't feel like they can talk to you maybe about stuff like that because they're like, oh, well, they have this notion in their mind that, oh, dad wants me to go. He expects me to go. I have to go for him. But it's like, we have to listen to them. And so we have been, because our kids are kind of COVID kids, I guess. So
She is.
yeah. So there's some anxiety and, yeah, I think I had to check myself.
I think a lot of that anxiety, well, maybe not anxiety, but shy. They're very shy a lot of times, and I think a lot of that stems from the fact that, well, we live out in the middle of nowhere, and we don't go to town a lot.
Yeah, that's what.
But we're okay with that. That is our lifestyle. That is what we chose. So our kids, other than school and daycare, is really the only times that they go out and interact with other people, and I'm okay with that. You're okay with that. But we see it when we take them places. But it usually takes them a bit to warm up, whereas most kids will just jump right in. Our kids maybe are a little...
Which is like good, fine.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't care. But
sports-wise is hard.
Sports-wise is hard, especially when it comes to like team sports, right? Like we saw it with soccer last summer a little bit.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. I think it's more so just like
sucks.
situation. Yeah, it does suck. Where they just don't, for whatever reason, social anxiety or whatever, that they don't want to do it. And like, I think the light bulb for me where I had to check myself was like when we were trying to get her on the ice for skating and we were like, you'll get a donut. Like we were bribing her, which is like, I am not above bribery. Like I will sometimes, guys, bribery is the only thing that works. My son will do anything for snacks. Yeah. He's our little Labrador retriever. And we love that about him because sometimes that's the only thing that works. So got to do
Especially
it.
this
But
body trait.
this is when I was like checking myself because it was for skating and I'm like, she's almost in tears and we're telling her like, oh, well, if you don't go on the ice, you're not going to get the cookie or whatever. And I'm like, what the fuck? And that's when I was like, I'm out. You don't want to go skating? Okay, let's get off the ice. Because what the fuck? What the fuck are we trying to, that goes right back to what you were saying. Like, if they're not into it, what the fuck is the point? If it's supposed to be for them, how is it for them if they're like crying? Mm-hmm. It's for you. You're at that point projecting and making it about yourself, which is like, fucked. That's a recipe, right? One way ticket to not having your kid talk to you when they're older.
It's hard when they're like that a little bit because you're paying money for them to do some of these programs.
Yeah,
and if you don't recognize that problem right away, you usually can't get your money back in time. So for us, we lost some money with the skating lessons.
I'm just pretending it didn't happen. I'm just not thinking about it.
Block it out in your mind because we lost some money with the skating thing because she didn't want to do it. And we came to the conclusion after many attempts, okay, we're just not going to make her. She can skate with us.
Choosing your cost though, ultimately. So it's like, okay, yeah, $900 is the cost. Or is the other cost the alternative of like traumatizing your 4-year-old into never wanting to do it again? Like,
but
what the fuck?
In saying all that, out of all the times that they got on the ice with instructors and was learning how to skate that way, I've never seen her smile and be happier more on the ice than when she was with us.
Yeah, I know.
Like that last time we went, she was just like lit right up. She's motoring around, pushing that little net.
And that just tells me all I need to know.
Yeah.
That we're doing the right thing. That whatever. They don't have to. It's like the comparison game.
You can get caught up in that.
Yeah, especially, and not just with sports, especially just like having kids. And when they're young, you're like, oh, well, so-and-so started crawling at 3 months. And like, oh, well, mine's not talking.
But you know what? When you're in that, I get it. But when I know that I look back when they were little babies and I was constantly,
because you don't know any different.
What percentile are they in every time I went to the doctors? I was obsessed with that. And I was always like beaming when we'd walk out of there because
our kids were both massive and they were like,
we have
100.
large children because Laurel's 5'11", I'm 6 feet.
They're going to say Laurel was large.
And anyway, we're both tall, right? So naturally our kids as little babies were off the charts. So they're always...
But what's wrong with us that we were stoked about that we were like, we win. Who against who?
And
what are we winning?
And I would catch myself bragging to my mom about it or telling a friend, be like, oh, my kid's freaking off the charts, blah, blah, blah. And now that I look back and I'm like, man, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Like, none of that even matters. And our oldest was pretty late learning to walk. And I remember just being so obsessed, and I don't want to say disappointed, but maybe disappointed that it was taking so long. And I'm wondering, oh, what's going on? Like, whatever, right?
Well, you just
and now
want
that I
what's
look
best
back
for
on it, I'm like,
them.
why did I worry?
Yeah.
Why do you worry about that? And yes, you want what's best for them, but like the things that used to that stress me out, and now I rarely stress out. There's times when I question the youngest.
That's the first kid syndrome, though.
You call him and he looks in the other direction. And I'm like, no, I'm calling from over here. Like, yeah, I worry, but I'm not going to let it stress me. But anyway.
I think that's the biggest thing. But again, you can't, until you're out of it, I feel like there's no escaping it. So we can sit here and be like, don't worry about it. You will. And you just want what's best for them, obviously. And I feel like as long as it's not like some major red flag from your doctor, just relax. Like they'll catch up or not. Like catch up to what? Like even me saying that is like, everyone's different and they're supposed to be different. And I think we just need to let them be their own clocks.
Yeah.
And set their own milestones. They'll all get somewhere eventually. I don't know. There's just too many things to stress about.
What my dream would be is that they didn't play any sports, didn't cost us any money, and they just worked on the farm.
You sound like we don't even, what are they going to do?
They can cut wood all day,
All
every
day
day.
long. Yeah, I don't know. I think that the comparison game is the same for like potty training.
It's like you can get obsessed with it, yes. And actually, I feel like, again, it's different for us because we're way out here. But people that live in town, I could see it consuming you. Like,
yeah, like, oh, well, Betsy down the road,
you're always around that age group. You're in subdivisions and this and that. You're always around it. You're always going to you basically go to sports because that's what everyone else is doing. You're doing this and that. So you're around it constantly where we aren't. And I'm glad we're not.
Yeah.
But man, like the stress or like the comparison game.
Or like even just literally finding out someone's kid who's like a year younger than yours is already potty trained and yours isn't. And you're like, oh, well, am I a bad parent? No, guys.
And it's not even like the comparison game. It's not even kids,
No, they don't even know what's going on.
The fact that people obsess over whose lawn looks better and who has the nicer car and
yeah, it's just that shit doesn't matter.
When you sit back and like think about it, none of it matters.
I mean, if I had money and a nice car, then maybe I would like change my tune, but I don't fucking care.
If I had some money, I'd put a bigger lift on the truck and go drive it in the field more.
That's what you would do?
Probably.
I would do a lot of other things before doing that.
No,
like building a barn and like maybe fixing our
structural
house.
things, yes.
But put a lift on the truck.
I wouldn't fix the house. I'd tear it down.
Burn it. Burn that motherfucker down. Yeah. Wow. Well, we kind of just went off on that with sports.
Our conversations, they just really just go.
Well, you really went on a rant with the sports.
That's 13 years together right there, folks.
13?
Yeah, we've been together 13 years.
What?
Right?
Wait.
Graduated university in 2009. We started dating, 10 or 11?
Wait, last year was 13. This year will be 14.
14 years?
Wait, so that was our unlucky year? That makes sense.
Yeah, we had a rough one.
Oof. Oof.
But 7 years married, they always say 7 years is the time to usually.
Wait, so for us, coincidentally, 7 years married was also our 13th year? Oh, we were really fucked.
Yeah, but we made it.
Did we?
And I think I love you more.
Oh. While we're like, this was going to be a whole other thing, but while we're like on the topic of parenting, I mean, you're kind of in the zone. I feel like you have gotten like the things you started out, because you don't know what you're doing when you have a kid. Obviously, you've never been a fucking parent before, and you're only going off of like I can't when you're scrolling your Instagram. Are you fucking serious right now?
I'm just getting followers.
I'm just
all
seeing
the time.
chicks on your For You page.
Just a lot of hearts flying around.
Jesus. I think that, do you feel like you've changed as a person and a parent, like since becoming a parent? No, sorry, rephrase. Do you feel like you've changed for the better as a person since becoming a parent? Because I think you have.
In a good way or a bad way?
I said for the better for most things.
I don't know. Like what?
Like, I feel like, can you recognize the fact that I feel like you've been able to recognize the toxic masculinity and shit that like you were built on. And I see you, like, I have to check you a lot, like, cause I'm more like in tune with it, but like you are way more open to being like, oh, I didn't see that because it's just stuff that you would out of habit do or whatever.
I don't know. I guess. Yeah.
Oh, well, I think you have. That was supposed to be like a nice moment.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I feel like you've gotten better with not being like, we're not doing the whole, like that, the vibe, like you were emitting earlier of you're not going to quit. Like I feel like your kids will, like the way you're going right now. I do think it's a very open.
I've switched gears on maybe that. And I'm a big believer in leading by example when it comes to kids.
Okay, please pray tell, because you chew with your mouth open. So I don't know if I believe it.
And you know what? The oldest actually isn't really following my lead on this. I usually just fart in the room that we're all in and let everyone bask in it. Where I don't know where she learned this. I think probably at school.
Because they're all disgusting.
If she has to fart, she leaves the room and goes into a separate room and
Excuse me, I have to fart.
And
You're
makes
like,
her
okay.
own little fart box somewhere else. And then comes out. She usually tails it with her, but and then we all bask in it. But
Just like
she
that.
has the manners for that, so she's not leading. She's not following my example on that, which I'm a little disappointed about because I like everyone to enjoy it. But but no, I'm a big believer in now that the kids are getting older and I'm taking more steps back. And you know, you just kind of talked about the masculinity thing a little bit, and I honestly think that if I just live in a way or do things a certain way, they'll catch on to that eventually.
And they do.
And they'll just do it.
But what do you mean? Like what?
Like, I'm going back to you cutting wood. Like, you cutting wood is a great example for them, like hard work. And it's important that we all cheer each other on and no matter what. And I get a kick out of now that, the other day, what did I say to the kids? Oh, I got to go to work or something. And the little guy goes, oh, you got to go do chores? He just assumed because I said, which I was actually going to work, but he assumes work is my chores, which are around the farm.
We literally asked our oldest the other day, do you know what daddy does for work? Chores?
Chores. I do chores for work.
Just out in the barn all day.
Yeah, that's where I go apparently. But I feel like if we continue to show the kids hard work and that kind of stuff. And, you know, it's something I know I need to work on and maybe we both need to work on, but I'm not going to point fingers, but the way we talk to each other and show up for each other every day is something I need to work on. I'll just say me, maybe not you because you're perfect.
I was about to say, wow, that's growth. But then that whole display.
But anyway, I'm just saying, all these are things that they're going to pick up on. And
you emulate your environment.
Starting to get to the age where I actually see it now. So I catch myself having to be more careful about how, if we have an argument, to not let it escalate in front of them. But going back to leading by example, I'm talking about more outside here around the farm. If we continue to show them hard work, that we're building a business and we're doing all this, and I still have to go to work because of out of necessity for doing or accomplishing our ultimate dream of what we're doing here. And maybe they'll pick up on that and they'll pick up how we talk to other people and how I don't know.
You kind of went the other direction away from my topic because I was touching,
I know.
You're just like, again, this is on you not wanting to talk about your feelings because that's toxic masculinity to feel like feelings and emotion are weak. But my point was that I feel like you have done a good job.
Thanks.
I didn't even finish talking.
Fist bump.
That like, I think we have a good, I don't know what the right curriculum, I don't know, like what's the right word? Roadmap of how we try to parent generally. Like when certain situations come up, like I had to shake you from this one because this was your first reaction, or I think a lot of reactions when they fall down or start crying, your first reaction usually or start out being like, you're okay. You're okay. And I shook you from that. You don't do that anymore.
I don't remember the last time I did.
Yeah, you don't. Like I listen and I noticed that like the other day because like
I handled it a little differently now. If they fall down or get hurt, I don't say, are you okay? I usually just say, are you okay?
Yeah, you just said the same thing. You meant.
Yeah.
You don't tell them you're okay.
I mean, are you okay?
Exactly.
I'll go and help them up. Or, well, I don't always help them up right away.
And okay, whatever.
And I know
that's
that
fine.
pisses you off, but you got to give them a little bit of leeway and be like, let them realize that.
It depends on what it is.
Absolutely.
And that's a mom versus dad thing, because I know
But
when I'm like, that person's
these
hurt.
knuckleheads are ripping around the house all the time and they fall down. 95% of the time, it's bullshit. And they are fine.
But guess what?
They are fine. But
Nope.
I'll go up to them and I'll be like, are you okay? But I will not reach out a hand to help them up all the time right away.
I feel sad for you, because 100% of the time, mom's going to be there for them.
Mom to the rescue.
100% of the time, they'll know they can go to mom. You only go 90, they're only going to give you 90. Write that on a fucking billboard.
Anyway, we do have some different parenting styles, but yes, maybe I've come a little bit compared to where I was. Yeah, I've come a long way.
Yeah, I think so. Because yeah,
With
it'd
that
be like,
stuff.
you're okay. I'm like, they're not. She's crying. You're just teaching them to be like, I'm not pinning that on you. It's just generalized. Like, that's just how we were raised. Like, oh, you're okay. Don't cry. Toughen up. And especially, it's interesting, I think, the dynamic, because we have a daughter and a son. It's interesting that we are learning both sides of parenting, if you will, because it is different. And seeing both sides of like breaking cycles. And as far as like specifically a boy, telling a boy, oh, you're okay. Don't cry. Whatever. Like, don't be whatever. Like, and that's just,
But here's the problem.
that's just telling them like, oh, emotion is weak. Showing emotion is weak. And I think that's so important to like not do that. And then it's okay to cry, even though you're annoying sometimes and it's triggering, but like, yeah. Okay. What? Here's what.
Here's the thing with a lot of what we've been able to kind of do with them here is they go to school or daycare and they pick up on all the other, I don't want to say toxic habits or sayings or whatever.
Like this. My daughter's 5.
What is that?
she
I
does-
know what that is, but
I don't think it's, I don't
no,
know.
I don't think it is either. But she's been doing that lately, even for pictures.
Yeah. What? Only for pictures. I don't get it.
Or there was a couple days there where she's 5 and she came home and believed that she didn't talk to boys anymore. Where would she learn that? She learns that at school from a friend or whoever. There was almost 2 days where she didn't hug me.
But I don't think it's just that. I think it's like anxiety for maybe something happened for whatever reason. I don't like boys.
She's
right
very
now.
boys versus girls a lot of the times.
I try to nip that in the
I
bud.
know we do here, but I'm saying if she wasn't in school, that probably wouldn't have ever been a thing.
No, but I'm
But
saying
she's
I don't think it
they're going
is.
to encounter stuff like
But
that.
I'm telling you, I don't think it is so much as like boys versus girls, as I think it's actually rooted in anxiety that she doesn't like boys. I don't think it's so much as like, well, girls are better. I've never heard her say that. I think it's more like, for whatever reason, she's just like, I don't like boys. And I'm like, all right, join the club. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I've never, no, because I would nip that so hard.
Like me.
Anyway, you just distracted me from the point of that. What was the point I was getting to?
That I've changed.
Yeah, whatever. Anyway, it's just like it's just little things that I think will make such a big difference. Like not saying you're okay.
I hope it makes a difference.
I think it will. I already see it. And just like you said, like they pick up on it. And I actually think someone commented us on one of my videos this week or something about like, because I don't show them on social media, but I have like a video of them in the background. You can hear their voices cheering me on while I'm cutting wood. And they're saying things like, good job, you're doing so good, whatever. Or, oh, I'm so proud of you. It's shit like, and someone was like, I can tell you're a good parent
Because they're doing
because they're saying that. Because obviously they're saying that because that's what you say to them.
that. Yeah.
Like where else would they, whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
And like, I love that because also it's just so fun. I remember the first time they started saying, I'm proud of you too back. And I was like, thank you. And they don't even know if they really understand what the fuck that means. But it's like,
They repeat everything.
we say there is so much, we may be off the grid-ish and like socially questionable, but like there is no shortage of love in our house for those kids, because like the amount of times a day that we all say I love you to each other, it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's excessive, but in the best way. And like, why not? There's so many hugs.
But there will probably come a time where it's
I know
few and far between. So get it in now.
I know, but I'm just saying in general, like we say it, we model it, like we say it to them all the time.
Yeah.
And so it's not like oh, I did something good and I got praise and she loves me because whatever, like that's just it. And like, I'm proud of you. We say, I'm proud of you all the fucking time. And I know not everyone got that
And then
in
the
their
little
childhoods.
guy, I always say, I'm proud of you at the end of the day, the little guy. And
Proud of you.
I'm proud of you too, Dad. Oh, thanks, buddy.
That's
Have a good sleep, bud. You have a good sleep too, Dad.
See, that's what I mean,
Yeah.
though. Is they're just so fucking precious. So I
I don't think he knows what he's saying.
I don't know, but he means well, and he's just the sweetest little motherfucker ever. Yeah. Is he the smartest? I don't know. Time will tell.
It's questionable.
But I do think. Do you find a difference between boys, our boy and our girl?
Oh yeah,
I didn't want to believe
they're
it.
very different.
I was really dead set starting out, being like, that's such bullshit. Like, whatever. Honestly.
Boys and girls are all the same, but they're not.
They're
okay,
actually not.
Now that we've started to raise two of them, they're.
But also, we only
different.
have one.
I understand that,
but still,
there are some
shit.
serious differences between boys and raising a boy and raising a girl.
Yeah,
very serious.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
Like
and I did not expect that.
Our
I thought they'd
boy-
be the same for the first 10 years of their life.
The shit that our boy does, our daughter would never.
Never.
At that age, would never. And like he'll do shit, and she just like just kind of looks at him like, what the fuck is going on with you? I don't know. And I don't know. Is it like a boy thing to just like try to kill yourself? Not intentionally, but just like, oh my God. He's the one giving me gray hairs.
You're going to hate me on this one, but I'm a
You are.
believer that boys, in comparison to girls, need more, I don't know, just the
A release. I know what you're trying to say.
yes,
I
release.
get it.
They need to run. Whereas girls, they need to run too, but maybe in a different way.
Well,
I
it's
don't know.
because they're biologically
Boys
and
need
the
to burn off
testosterone.
that energy. And, you know, I actually read and watch a lot of stuff, and young boys get diagnosed with ADHD and stuff all the time. And I honestly believe it's because of that, because we're not allowing these kids to be free and express themselves and just burn off that energy. So I'm so glad we live where we live out in the farm, because
Nobody calls the cops.
as soon as it warms up, get the fuck out of the house
Holy
and run.
shit. Lock
Run to
the
the bush
doors.
and back. Go.
In the summer, we literally lock the house door so that
Yeah.
they cannot go back inside.
It's great. No, a lot less TV, and
Yeah.
we're outside. We're doing chores all day. All day.
We got a trampoline was a good addition.
It was.
But yeah, I do think there's a difference. And I see more and more also how like he is so like you, because like you guys are just kind of dumb. And me and my daughter, we're just like looking down at you like, oh my God, seriously?
He's my little man.
And also so funny. I very much take pride in how our daughter is already being raised, or
She's very supportive of him.
yes.
that what you mean? Yeah.
Well, I just mean like also in the sense that like I'm very, we or me, whatever, the people pleaser in me, like, oh, we'll be on your best behavior. Like you can't, whatever, for these people or whatever. And it's like, who the fuck, for what, why? Like I do not want that for her. And I've tried so hard, and I am trying so hard to make sure she doesn't get that little fucking voice in her head, which would be, I guess, my voice, whatever. That is, stop, like, people pleasing. Stop it. It is a cycle that I will probably never get out of. I try, and I am way better at it, but it's like ingrained in my brain. And for what? And it's just like putting other people's needs above yours. Like, for example, when if someone at a stranger at the grocery store, when you have them with you, says something weird to them, like, oh, your hair is really pretty, little lady. I'm making this up as an example. And normally you'd be like, oh, well, tell him thank you. Fuck him. If it says something weird to you and you don't want to respond to the creepy old man calling you pretty in the grocery store, you don't fucking have to. You don't fucking have to. Like, if your discomfort is not less valued than hurting this random fucking creepy man's old feelings. That's a very random example I just gave.
Yeah.
But that's my point, is it's like, I don't want her ever. She's such a fucking firecracker. Like, no means fucking no. She's so just like me. Like, you could try to touch her, like to hug her, she fucking swats you.
That's exactly
I love
like
it.
you.
I love it. I love it so
away.
much. And it's like, oh, if you don't like, oh, give them a hug. No, I
I'm
don't
a
want to.
touchy-feely person, and you're the complete opposite.
I know.
How we got
hate
married,
it.
I don't know.
I don't either. But she's the same as me, I think. Well, yeah, she's the same as me. I actually
And
fucking love
him,
it.
all he wants to do is cuddle.
I know.
Sit on me, sit beside me. He can't sit beside me unless my arm is around him.
Yeah, he's you.
He stops and makes me put my arm around him every time. And it's great. But when you're trying to like maybe scroll a little bit and enjoy while you're sitting there watching Paw Patrol for the 20th time,
Holy fuck.
it gets annoying. But you know, I've I don't know if you felt this, but we went on a trip to Arizona last year, like late last year, after we got the cattle off the pasture, and I don't know if you felt this, but man, did we need that to get away, to slow down.
Yeah.
Because as soon as I got back, 90% of my stress and like my go, like, and just constantly being overwhelmed with stress with to-do lists and stuff, it just like went away. And I got this like, this overwhelming sense of I need to slow everything down, still get everything done, but slow everything down and actually appreciate them more, like the kids. And ever since that trip, I go down before I go to bed and you know, tuck them back in and give them a kiss. And I didn't do that prior to last year. And I've gotten into the routine where I do it every night now. And I'm lucky enough where I now have a day job and I'm home every night to do that.
Yeah.
But it's not going to last forever. And I think I've said it to you a few times now, like they're not going to be this age forever. And we're going to look back on this and be like, I wish I just slowed down a little bit more, or, you know. And for me, for whatever reason, I felt compelled that, okay, I tuck them into bed and I say goodnight to them and whatever, and then they go to bed. But 2 hours later or 3 hours later, then I go to bed, and I've gotten into the routine where I go down and I kiss them again. And it's maybe a little obsessive. Yeah. But like I said, I'm not going to do that forever. And they're so little now, and I just want to cherish. Yeah. I'm trying to slow down to cherish it.